Once upon a time, there were four minions who were best friends, and they loved playing with their toys. One day they found an old glowing firefly in the attic, and they had no idea how it worked. So they decided to take it apart to figure it out. But when they did, they just made it even more complicated and ended up creating all sorts of crazy contraptions. The first thing they tried was using a lever to make the firefly go higher. They put one minion on each end of the lever and one in the middle to operate the firefly. But it didn't work very well because the firefly was too heavy. They needed a bigger lever, but they didn't have anything big enough in the attic, so they ended up using a plank of wood as a seesaw. This time they put two minions on one side and three on the other side, and it worked. The firefly went up and down like a seesaw. Then they tried using a pulley to make the firefly go higher. They tied a rope to the firefly and then went up into the attic to find something tall to hang it from. They found an old ladder and tied the other end of the rope to the top rung. Then they started climbing the ladder and pulling on the rope. The higher they climbed, the more the firefly glowed. But then one of the minions got scared of heights and let go of the rope. The firefly zoomed all the way up the ladder and out the window. They had to work together to get it back inside. And when they finally did, it was too dark to see how it worked anyway. So then they tried using a wheel and axle to make the firefly go higher. They attached the firefly to a wagon and then pushed it along a ramp. The faster they pushed it, the more the firefly glowed. But it wasn't very efficient because they had to push it really hard to make it go fast. So then they tried using a bigger wheel and axle. They found an old bike in the attic and attached the firefly to the back wheel. Then they started pedaling. The bigger wheel made the firefly glow brighter than ever before. But while they were playing, one of the minions got distracted by his reflection in the spokes of the wheel. He tried to reach out and touch it, but the wheel kept moving and he couldn't catch it. So he let go of the pedal and fell onto the ground with a thud. But the firefly's light hit a puddle and made it look like a huge explosion. All the minions gasped in surprise. Then they started laughing and making up stories about what it could be. One said it was a magical fairy, another said it was a tiny sun. But really, it was just a glowing firefly. And after all their playing was done, they put the firefly back in its box and returned it to the shelf. They didn't understand exactly how it worked, but they didn't need to. They had fun and learned a little bit about levers, pulleys, and wheels and axles, which are all examples of simple machines. Simple machines make work easier. A lever makes it easier to move something by applying force at a distance. A pulley makes it easier to lift things by changing the direction of force. And a wheel and axle makes it easier to move things by changing the direction of force and increasing the distance over which the force is applied. And all these simple machines help us in our everyday lives, like when we use a screwdriver to tighten a screw or a bicycle to ride around the block.